Hello, welcome to Bramall Lane, where Norwich City have lost 1-0 to Sheffield United, struggling again against a team who play three at the back, something which has become quite a problem for Norwich, but they at least did keep it interesting. Daniel Farke reacted and made changes at half-time, bringing on Josip Drmic, going more attacking in the second half, and a reaction did come. So it's not all doom and gloom, but of course there's only 9 games left of the season, so you can't really afford losses at this point. Norwich remain bottom of the table. Things haven't actually got any worse. Bournemouth, West Ham and Watford have all lost. Aston Villa don't play until Monday night at Leicester. Brighton did get a point at Wolves, but that means Norwich remains 6 points from safety. 9 games to go now. Villa have another game in hand, which is against Sheffield United. So it's still they're not dead and buried yet. Results go their way again next weekend and get a win at home against Southampton, and of course it's still alive, but they're going to need to show a lot more of what they showed in the second half than what they showed in the first half here at Bramall Lane. Daniel Farke reverted back to the team that started against Leicester the previous Friday night at Carrow Road, winning 1-0 of course thanks to that Jamal Lewis volley. Made 4 changes from the team that had played in midweek at Tottenham. Of course, the penalty shootout win after a 1-1 draw on Wednesday night. Sheffield United had 24 hours extra rest. They also had gone to extra time. They won 2-1 at Reading, of course a championship side. They made 5 changes from their lineup, and reverted back to the team that had drawn with Brighton here the previous weekend, just making 1 change, which was bringing John Lundstram into midfield. And first half, they really dominated, bullied Norwich to a certain extent, and the goal was oh so familiar, unfortunately. A cross coming in, it was 36th minute, and John Lundstram, as I say, came into the team, had so much time on the right that he could roll his foot over the ball, pick his spot, and then he whipped a gorgeous cross right into the edge of the 6-yard box, and there's Billy Sharp. Master marksman for Sheffield United, such a hero in these parts. Their captain still going strong in his mid-30s, powered a header past Tim Krul, and that was the game's decisive moment. The first 15 minutes, Krul had been forced into one good save from a Lundstram header, which he punched over his bar. Teemu Pukki did also hit the post in a slightly strange chance. Andre Duda put in a corner from City's left. George Baldock seemed to lose the flight of the ball, and Pukki got a sort of unexpected header at the back post, which was then deflected back to him, and he just swiped at the shot, cannoned against the post from close range, and that was a pretty frantic start to the game before things started to settle down. Kenny McLean needed to clear one off the line. Kenny McLeaned one off the line is what I nearly said then. And John Lundstram also wide with a volley just before half-time. So the home crowd here were very, very pleased with their side's effort as they went into half-time, and we were all fearing the worst really. But as I say, Daniel Farke reacted. He took Todd Cantwell off. Him and Buendia had both looked fairly tired on the back of Wednesday night's efforts, so either of them probably could have come off. But that was essentially a switch to a 4-4-2 diamond. So Drmic went up top with Teemu Pukki, Teti sat deep, McLean on the left, Buendia right, Duda at the tip of the diamond behind that front two. And it started to pay dividends, although I wouldn't say Norwich were great in the second half, but they were better. And just from having 2 bodies further up the pitch, it prevented that back 3 from essentially being able to dictate things. People talk about Sheffield United almost having these overlapping centre-backs in terms of Chris Basham, Jack O'Connell on either side are able to essentially play in so much space because the wing-backs push forward and they can put in crosses from deep, and that did thwart that to a certain extent. Drmic floated a header just beyond the far post about 5 minutes into the second half. That was a decent chance. He went close, and what was good about that, and what was good about Drmic in general, was that he was so determined. The big turning point of the game though, Dean Henderson comes away with all the praise. The Manchester United loanee in goal for a second season here at Sheffield United, so popular. Looks very likely he's going to be going to the Euros with England this summer. May even be playing if Jordan Pickford's form doesn't pick up, because he's been getting a lot of praise and he really did save his team. Buendia put in a corner in the 78th minute. Ben Godfrey did really well again, determined to get up well and powered a header down, and Henderson gets down low to his left, keeps the ball out, and we have seen the replay in terms of the goal line technology, and I'd say 2/3 of the ball were over the line. Just that final third wasn't quite. He kept it out. Mario Vrancic then piled in, who had also come on by that point, had replaced Teti in the deeper role in midfield. Tried to bundle it in. Henderson did prevent that. I think there was a fairly large hint of handball from Mario, so from that point onwards, if the ball had been bundled in, VAR may well have cancelled it out anyway. Josip Drmic was then denied by Henderson to complete basically a triple save, a mad scramble on the goal line, and David McGoldrick puts the ball over the bar to end the danger for Sheffield United. And the reaction around this place, they knew that was huge. That had basically saved Sheffield United from losing 2 points, and they were important points for them as well. As things stand, they are up to 6 and within 2 points of the Champions League places. They are just having a phenomenal season. They're not particularly pretty, but wow, are they effective. They really, really know their system. They're disciplined. They work so hard for second balls. The system just works, and those players play out of their skins for Chris Wilder. So I've got massive, massive respect for Sheffield United. They probably did deserve the win in the end, despite Norwich giving it a good crack in the second half. Adam Eder came on with 3 minutes remaining. Duda was replaced, who was probably the player who came in for most flack on our live updates at Pinkland.com for not really affecting the game very much at all. Unfortunately, he's sort of going into that territory of his promising debut, becoming a Naismith, as it's called in Norfolk, in terms of he looked so good, and ever since it's not looked great. There was one final chance for Norwich, and that was Henderson again in the right place at the right time. Jamal Lewis did well. Kenny McLean flicked on a cross from Buendia from the right, and Lewis on the volley would have been quite the story really, because it would have followed up that lovely goal against Leicester, for which he's been nominated for the Premier League Goal of the Month award. Good contact with the volley, blasted at Henderson, but he stood strong and parried it away to safety. And that was it really. They killed the game, made some subs. Ollie McBurney went down under fairly minimal pressure from Tim Krul and rolled around and killed a couple of minutes with treatment, and this place was absolutely rocking, and they were very happy with their team's efforts by the time the full-time whistle rolled around. But as I say, the situation in the league at least hasn't got any worse. It's all about that game at Southampton now, and seeing what they can take from this in terms of positives. Christoph Zimmermann was back on the bench today, so he comes into contention for that home game against Southampton, when I think the Canaries crowd are very much going to need to turn up like they did against Leicester. They're really going to need to drive the players on if they're going to have any chance of getting out of this, although they do, of course, need other teams to drop points for it to mean anything at this stage. And what will be interesting to see whether Drmic gets a start ahead of Pukki. Just had a chat with him after the game. It's the first time I've interviewed Josip. His English has reached the point where he's happy to do interviews, and he's really, really pleased to be playing. Admits he's desperate to get into that Switzerland squad for the Euros in the summer, because he missed the last Euros through injury. Has spoken to his international manager, and he's basically said, well, if you're fit and playing regularly, then you're very much going to be in my thoughts. He's got 3 goals this season, despite the fact that he's only started 2 games, hasn't yet had a league start. So, Pukki hasn't looked the same player since he injured his toe at Leicester in December, has he? Hasn't scored a goal in open play since that goal, I think I'm right in saying, apart from obviously that one that was ruled out by VAR against Tottenham, his last 2 goals being penalties. So is it time to stick Timo on the bench, or is it time to just become a bit more attacking, maybe mimic what Sheffield United do and go with a 3-5-2, have Drmic and Pukki up top, get Buendia and Godfrey and Zimmermann either side of Hanley at the back, make sure you're nice and solid in games, and then these more attacking players who haven't scored enough goals. I think that's 6 away goals all season. The likes of Buendia, Cantwell, Duda, they can't really complain if Daniel moves to a system where there's not really a place for a playmaker, as it were. Either way, I think at least the majority of Norwich fans will be pleased to see that Daniel Farke tried things today. He did help to change the flow of the game to a certain extent. But in the end, another disappointing result, and the Championship is still moving into view unless they can do something drastic from here on in. Of course, Southampton at home, and then we break for that FA Cup quarter-final at home against Manchester United, which is going to be great, and then we head into the international break to draw breath and crack on with that final stage of the season after the internationals. Thanks very much for watching. Head over to Pinkland.com for all the analysis and reaction, and do feel free to leave your comments below. We will catch up with you very soon.